will be quite worried by what they're seeing. Now, let's focus on another key seat on the campaign trail. Liberal Tim Wilson, of course, has held the seat of Goldstein in Melbourne's southeast suburbs since 2016. He's got a healthy 7.8% margin, but he's facing a tough contest from one of these teal independents, fake independents, Zoe Daniel, a former ABC reporter. We've invited Zoe to join us several times, but she's always unavailable. Earlier today, though, I spoke with Tim Wilson and asked him if he's surprised to have to fight so hard to hang on to this seat.
Well, I've always fought hard in Goldstein and across the nation. At the last election, we from Centre Road and Bentley led a nationwide campaign against Labor and its retiree tax, because we knew that the best way to hold Goldstein is to project our values to the nation and to fight for Australians. And so we're doing that, but in a more intense way locally, against a candidate who voted for Labor and for their retiree tax at the last election.
One of the things that surprised me about these so-called teal independents, these fake independents, is the focus not just on climate change, but on knocking out moderate Liberals. You're more pro-climate action and more informed on climate change than just about anybody in the Liberal Party, yet the teal independents want to take you out. Can you tell me about what's strange about that? And also, given your knowledge of climate change, where you would rank it as the issues on the list of issues confronting Australia and the people of Goldstein?
Well, climate change is an important issue to the Goldstein electorate, but it's not the only issue. And this is the difference between these so-called teal independents really running on single issue versus a member of parliament who actually understands the full spectrum of the challenges our country face, whether it's the uncertainty globally around the economy and national security. They have literally no opinion on those critical factors that are actually the things the federal government and the federal parliament is responsible for. And of course, even then, even if you take those out, and I think it's pretty extraordinary to think we should take those out, on climate change, I studied carbon accounting 15 years ago before a lot of these people even really engaged with the discussion, and went on and studied at postgraduate qualifications in energy and carbon management, including the science of climate change, and have even backed it up more recently studying pathways to net zero. So what they're missing is they want to play on fear and they want to play on the idea that the government isn't acting, when the clear record is both that we are, but in addition to that, that we're breaking it from an economic standpoint, a technology standpoint, because we're interested in how we're going to build the clean industrial future of the country. And they just want to pander to people's fears because they think that's a way they can harvest votes.
Are the independents, like so-called independents, like Zoe Daniel, being dishonest with voters by not revealing their preference for who should form government? It's very clear their aim is to knock out moderate Liberals, push the coalition into minority and help form a Labor-Greens government.
I think dishonest is the wrong word. I think these candidates lack integrity and are breaking the very bond of trust that exists between a member of parliament and the people whose votes they seek. The first action of any federally elected member of parliament is to decide who it is they're going to provide confidence and supply to form government. And they won't answer the basic question of who that is. And they're doing that deliberately because they want to obfuscate, they want to delay, they want to distract, because we all know in our hearts that they're going to hopefully sneak into seats like Goldstein, like Kooyong, Wentworth, North Sydney and Mackellar, so that they can then go on and support a minority Labor government. And we know full well that what that will create is chaos and division within the community, but that's their objective. Why don't they just own it? Why don't they just be upfront about it? At least the Labor candidate, a fellow by the name of Martin Abbott, has the integrity to say he wants Anthony Albanese to be Prime Minister. It's up to the so-called teal independents to do the same and front up to their communities.
Yeah, you've got to be upfront. Now, is the ABC, is the national broadcaster helping them in this deception? Because Zoe Daniel's a former ABC reporter, her campaign manager's a former ABC reporter, the communications manager for Climate 200 that's running all these fake independents is a former ABC reporter. I mean, this thing is an ABC stitch-up, isn't it?
Well, there's certainly a lot of ABC coverage of my so-called teal independent opponent. But to be fair, last night there was a report on another program on the ABC, which I recommend people go and watch, 7:30. I know I'm saying that on Sky would be heretical, but and truthfully, my opponent imploded. She imploded because she couldn't answer basic questions about why there were people. She kept saying that there's no connection between her campaign and Climate 200. Yet in their strategy meetings, they literally had somebody who's paid by Climate 200 in their own private strategy meetings here in Goldstein.
Speaking about people imploding, Tim Wilson, sorry to interrupt. Speaking about people imploding, what do you make of Anthony Albanese today, not even knowing his own 6-point plan on the NDIS?
I think Australians are seeing straight through Anthony Albanese, and it's pretty clear to every Australian that he not just doesn't have a plan for the future of the country, an economic plan of what we need, more critically, he's just not up to it, and he's just not interested.
Tim Wilson, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, I followed up on Tim's suggestion and looked at the ABC from last night, and it was quite extraordinary. We've talked before on this show about Climate 200, the climate lobby group set up by Simon Holmes à Court, the son of Australia's first billionaire, Robert Holmes à Court. Simon has used his inherited millions to play around in renewable energy investments and in politics. His Climate 200 organisation is behind the fake independents. It funds them all. It helps them all. It brings them all together with identical policies and tactics, but he also proclaims their independence. Go figure. I've also pointed out that former long-time ABC political reporter Jim Middleton is employed as Climate 200's communications manager. Anyway, on the ABC last night, Zoe Daniel admitted she's spending $1.2 million on her campaign and that almost $500,000 of that is coming directly from Climate 200. Yet she insists that money buys Climate 200 nothing and does not compromise her independence. But then, well, just have a look at this.
It has no impact on my policy positions.
But at Zoe Daniel's morning campaign meeting, there's a familiar face at the table.
Climate 200's media advisor Jim Middleton was in your meeting this morning, so that's a very close relationship.
Well, no, Jim Middleton works on my campaign. Jim Middleton is my political advisor.
Who's paying him?
Our campaign is paying Jim Middleton.
But Jim Middleton also works for Climate 200.
It's a separate relationship, and this is on the public record.
Yeah, well, it's on the public record now, all right. Independent? About as independent as the ABC. Middleton has confirmed that he's got individual contracts with Climate 200, with the Goldstein campaign and with the North Sydney campaign. No pay-as-you-earn taxation involved either. These are all contracts through his business. These lefties sure know the tax system. Still, even though he's working for all of these groups and they share funding arrangements and they share a financial advisor, they all claim to be independents. It is such a sham. Listen to one of